Good evening, everyone. I am going to get this slideshow pulled up while everyone gets comfortable, and then we're going to jump right into it. All right, well, I'm seeing people start to get into the event. I want you to go ahead and look on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a chat box. If you can go ahead and get familiar with that. So number one, make sure you're comfortable. We're going to spend about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm really happy to share this information with all of you, and I'm happy that you made your way to this event because we're going to go over some amazing information and information that you probably have never heard before. So I want to make sure that you can actually interact with me to get the absolute most out of this experience. So get comfortable. We're going to spend some time together, but also make sure you can reach the keyboard and answer and interact. So if you find that chat box, please go ahead and let me know where you're from. What state are you from? I'm from Maine originally, and I live here in San Diego now. In the chat box, you're also going to notice there is about a 30-second delay. So I'm going to try to use those as water breaks for myself, but we're going to go ahead and make sure I ask you guys questions so we don't have much of an actual lag time. But please be patient with me as we go through the chat box. Last thing, I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see a little more of me as a human. All right. All right, I see Chris and Jessica have got in. Roxanne is from El Salvador, lives in LA. Sue from Iowa. Ann from Riverside. Anna, sorry. So as you're getting checked in, let me know on that right-hand side where you're from. Chris is from Scottsdale. Gardena, California. Adela, hello. Thank you for joining us. Anna, you're welcome, of course. I'm so happy to be doing this tonight. Maida from California. Great, so we're getting a good spread of people from all over the place. What we're going to go through tonight can be done completely virtual or in office. So we have a lot of different options, but the most important thing is I'm going to be showing every single one of you how we can get to a different place in our life. And whether that was stress, hormones, immunity, whatever it was that called to you, when you saw our ad, I can get those answers for you. So the next question I'm going to ask as I'm pulling up the presentation is if you can please put in the chat box, what is the one thing that you're really hoping to get from the presentation tonight so I can make sure to make this the best experience possible for everyone, all right? So in the chat box, put in what is the one thing that you want to get from the presentation tonight. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the slides. All right, Cassandra from California, initially from New York, from Irvine, Lillian, awesome. So I'm going to pull up this presentation. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So now this presentation is going to take over your screen as well. Perfect. So now you should see little me in the bottom corner and then the presentation taking up your screen. As it says, we're going live at 5:30. It's past 5:30. We are live. So we're going into this next slide. What we're going to be going over tonight is a lifestyle approach to making permanent change in your body. But first, we're going to go through a lot of the reasons and maybe why you're in the place that you are right now. And then we'll go through what we need to do and what factors we have to have control over so that we can make a change. So hello from our entire team at Fixed Body Group. There's a tremendous group of physicians, providers that are here to help you and guide you getting to a better place. My name is Dr. Sam Wag. You can see me on the far right over there. And those are just three of the people I work extremely close with. Jessica in the middle right next to me, Sean, and then Patrick on the far left. And by working together, we're able to ourselves go much further, but also to take our clients and our patients much further in their journey. So what I would like everyone to do, as I said in the very beginning, go ahead and get comfortable, but make sure you can interact with me. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is put away your phone and put away those distractions because I am going to go through information tonight that you probably have never heard before, and I don't want you to miss any little one thing that would stop you from being able to make the change that you want in your life. Because right now, We are spending some time to learn something different. So let's make sure you can take absolutely the most possible out of this. So go ahead and put your phones away. Make sure you're not distracted. Because what we're going to go through tonight, first off, is America's healthcare crisis. I'm not talking about COVID or pandemics, but honestly, what COVID has maybe exposed about our healthcare system currently. So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about the underlying cause that no one else is talking about. So what is creating these problems and what's getting us to this place? And we want to make sure that you all understand that. So keep the phones away so you can get to that root cause and that true problem. We're also going to talk about how you can take action and be proactive so you can protect your health naturally and not be reliant on the system. The system we speak of is America's healthcare crisis. So I'm going to ask you right now in the chat box, let me know if you think that there is a healthcare system, if there's an issue with our healthcare system, or is it our health? Which of those is more the problem? Is it our health as Americans, or is it our healthcare system? Please let me know in the chat box. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm also going to check up on what people wanted to know. Okay, so reading through on the chat, a lot of the questions are about hormone balance, about, there was one other one I saw, mostly hormone issues, how we can be healthier. All right, now getting some of the answers back for the healthcare system, a little bit of both. It's a system, right? And it's the way that we are going through this. So that's what's leading to the actual health being an issue. But now that it seems like most of us agree it is the system, let's go through what are some of those reasons. So the next thing I want to ask in that chat box is, what does everyone think the average American, so the average person living in America, takes when it comes to prescriptions? How many? Is it 1? Is it 5? Is it 20? How many prescription medications do we believe the average American is on? Rose, more the system. Maida, both. Richard, healthcare system is broken. I agree. Rose, actually both. Sarita, both. Another one, Rose wanted to learn about immunity. All right, this is great. Every single thing in the chat box we're going to go through today, and I promise every single one of you will leave here with the answers that you want to know. The other thing I want to mention as I'm reading more of these come through is if you have a question that you'd prefer not everyone in the chat box see, there is an option to send that privately. So myself and one of my business partners will be able to see that, and we can answer that question and address everyone, or I can make sure to get back to just you privately. So you do have that option. I want you to know that. All right. And a couple other people jumping on. Hello. So looking at some of the answers. So 3 medications, 8 medications, 5 medications, 2 to 3, 3. So the average American takes 4 medications. Where we're at was pretty close on some of the guesses. I personally take no prescription medications. What does that mean? That means that on an average, I'm a 0. So a lot of people are taking a lot more if we're coming out with 4. So this is kind of scary when we're taking all these medications. That how do we continue to take more and more and more, but not get the answers? Because the next thing I want to ask all of you, and one thing I didn't say in the beginning, tonight is about having a conversation and making this interactive. Because every single one of you, if you want to get the most out of this, we need to interact. And just like I asked you to put in what you want to get out of this, the more you interact, the more you are going to get out of it. Because the next question I'm going to ask, with those medications, if 4 is the average, do medications treat our symptoms, or do medications treat the root cause of the problem? Do they make the problem go away, or do they make the symptoms better? So I want to see what everyone's thinking with that one before we move forward. Because at the end of tonight, once we go through what has got you to where we are right now, we're going to go through exactly what we can do to change that. once we can all get on the same page and the same understanding of what's got us to this point. So it looks like everyone agrees it treats symptoms. Richard, symptoms. Aaron, symptoms. Jane, symptoms. Angela, Rose, Sue, everyone, symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. We're all correct, right? If it treated the root cause of the problem, if it removed the problem, I would not need to take it the next day. But unfortunately, these medications are treating symptoms. They're giving you 24-hour relief, but we have to wake up and take that same thing. And that's not right to me, and that's not right in our office. We don't want you to continue to be on medication. We want to change, and we want to find out what that root cause is. So let's have a serious conversation now that we agree with what's going on when it comes to the medications. Like Nancy just mentioned in the chat, there are some medications that are needed when we're creating like chemical balances. But unfortunately, this isn't how a lot of our healthcare system is used when it comes to the prescriptions. A lot of these are lifetime, trying to mitigate some symptoms. So let's look at some statistics. Before I do that, when we talk about this system and how it's incorrect, it reminds me of a patient in the office. Her name's Wendy. I'm going to share a portion of this. There's a whole part of the testimonial in here, but I wanted to jump in where she said, this is everything I didn't know I needed. The way every choice was impacting my health was not okay. Now I know how to make the right ones. I couldn't be happier with the program or the treatment from Sam. He's very knowledgeable and informative and determined to resolve my issues. My knees are feeling so much better. I needed a life change, and this is it. So with Wendy, when she originally came in, she just had this knee pain that was going on. But the more we unearthed, the more I talked to her, she had a lot of other things going on in her life. And she was in this system of continuing to take some prescriptions, some medication, and trying to deal with these daily things showing up in her life. And once we were able to educate her on how some of these choices that were being made every day were leading and creating this compounding effect that we don't want to experience and that she didn't need to experience. Because in our traditional model and this medical model we have right now, we're going to look at some of the numbers to show why this isn't okay. So this first number is $3.5 trillion. If anyone wants to guess what that represents for the United States, go ahead. I'm going to cut out that lag time and let you know. That is what we spend annually on healthcare in the United States. The next number, 90%. Of that $3.5 trillion, 90% of the money goes towards the top 5 chronic conditions. 70% are the deaths that occur. 70% of the deaths that occur in the United States come from the same top 5 conditions. So when you're spending that kind of money and 90% of it is going towards those 5 conditions, but 70% of the deaths in your country are accounted for from those top 5, that is really frustrating. And that I would hope for a lot of you, maybe these numbers are a little bit surprising. If you are surprised by that, let me know. The last one I'm going to share here is 12%. 12% is the amount or the percentage of Americans that are metabolically fit. That means when we look at all of the functional testing and where they should be lab-wise, only 12% of America falls into that. And that is not okay with me. That's not okay with Fixed Body Group and how we want to live our life and how we want our patients to live their lives. Because we refuse to be part of a broken system that's spending $3.5 trillion on our healthcare, where 90% is on these chronic health conditions. 70% of all the deaths occur from the top 5 chronic conditions. And I went ahead and switched that last one for you because the US ranks 37 out of 40 when it comes to health outcomes. That does not sound like the America the Great that we all want to be living in and feel like when we have this kind of money to spend on healthcare, and if you have health insurance and you're putting money into it, that cannot make you feel really good about the type of care. And I want to back up a second and say that I'm not here to bash on medical doctors or anyone inside of that system. It's the system that is dictating. And when I say the system, we'll get into this more, but it's dictated by insurance. And that's really what is dictating the type of care that you have the opportunity to get. But we're here tonight to show that you have an opportunity to get a lot of different care, because these costs are completely unacceptable with the outcomes that we have. So if we were spending money and we were getting great outcomes, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with making an investment, but I'm not okay with wasting money. So I just saw in the chat, Richard asked, what are those top 5 problems? Well, that's stroke, heart disease, there's stroke, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and then, there's one other one that's going to come back to me. But those are 4. That's where 70% of those deaths are coming from. So in the chat box, do you think this is happening because we have the wrong information? All the information we have is wrong? Or is it that we're lacking information? What do you think is going on there? So go ahead and put that in the chat. All right. So I see a lot of people, that is scary. The numbers were concerning to them. That was something that they had not seen before. So Angela, it's a combination, right? The wrong or lacking information. Chris, it's both. Nancy, Sue, lacking. A lot of lacking and a lot of both. And really, sometimes it's completely wrong information, because a lot of what we hear is marketing. It's not health advice, right? The other information we may be lacking. You may hear something that works totally well for someone else, and every single bit of science supports that, but that doesn't work for you, because every single one of us is an individual, and every single one of us has to have our health dealt with in a different way. So into this next slide, on the left-hand side, you will see a normal x-ray. It's fairly normal. That is a lateral view. So if someone was standing this way, the x-ray is looking through their spine. So on that left-hand side, that person is standing up straight. Same thing on the right-hand side. That person is also standing up straight. And you can see that the curvature, I know the image isn't that great, but you can see the curvature is very, very forward. And you can see that there isn't much space, if you look on the left-hand side, in between those bones. I'm not here to teach you anatomy, but that space is really important, because it makes sure that your nerves can innervate all of the organs in your body. And your nervous system directly or indirectly controls every single function in your body. Well, the reason that that left-hand picture isn't the best when it comes to quality is that that image is of me, and that is my spine. And that was actually taken a decade ago. And when I saw that x-ray, through the traditional medical model, I was essentially told that I would have a lot of spinal pain in the next 10 years. I should really avoid doing some very specific exercises like deadlifting and squatting, and I shouldn't put a lot of compression on my spine. And that basically, that was, I would have a lot of pain probably by 50 or 60 and would be on some type of prescription medication. Well, that was a big wake-up call to me, because every single thing I was told was a big no. And regardless of what I was told, that was not going to be the life that I lived. And I found out about this when I was already working on my doctorate, when I was in school. But I knew that although I was learning a tremendous amount about the human body, there was still so many more factors to deal with. And number one, just being told what my body looked like from the inside and how that was going to dictate everything was not okay with me. And I knew that thus far in school, I had never been taught about mindset. And that had to be incredibly important. And mentoring was incredibly important. And you had to treat every portion of someone to be able to make a change. So this is why I have such a passion for this. Obviously, I'm here right now. And I have been able to be extremely functional, and you would never know that that's the same x-ray of the same person because I can stand up straight and I think it looks pretty normal. So just because you're told this is how something is going to be doesn't mean that we can't change those outcomes. We have to understand what got us there because we can eliminate exposure or what we're exposed to, or in my case, maybe genetically something that we have. But we can be proactive. We can get the right information and make sure that we're moving on the right information. We're not taking something false and trying to make that work for us. We can eliminate risk factors. We can stop doing things that are taking away from our life, and we can start doing things that are adding on to our life. Because just like Wendy said, she was unaware of some of the decisions that she was making, but every single choice that we make in our life is either adding on to our timeline of life or it's decreasing. And those decisions can be millimeters or they can be miles, but we want to make sure that you can stack up as many good decisions as humanly possible. We need to find the true underlying cause, not just guess about what's going on. We have to learn how to boost our immune system. And I should say, build your immune system, because your immune system is just like a muscle and it has to be worked out consistently so it can continue to perform the way that you want. We have to minimize stress in our life because it's leading to so many negative things. It's changing our internal chemistry. It's changing how our hormones work. It's changing how we feel, how we sleep. And we have to take action. We have to know how to take action in our life in a way that is going to consistently get us to a better place. Because maybe you've heard someone say, like, it's not about the destination, you have to enjoy the journey. Well, if you're not enjoying life right now, and that's maybe a portion of the reason that you're here tonight is you're looking to be able to enjoy that journey. And I want to tell all of you that we can make sure that you do enjoy that journey. But we have to look at a couple different pieces, and we need to address every single one of these and get them right if we want to make this change in our life. And a lot of you are probably familiar with one of these pieces. You've probably tried one of them before to maybe correct what's got you here tonight. And detox is the first thing. And this is not about, take a drink here. Excuse me. This is not about you doing a juice cleanse or about you having a hose up your backside. This is a very systematic way of removing foods that create inflammation in our body. Nutrition. We have to learn what is correct to go into our body, because nutrition from 30 years ago to now has changed a lot. And we said before that a lot of times it's not health advice, it's marketing. And nutrition is probably one of the biggest culprits, because I'm sure a lot of you can agree. It's how often do you see those healthy food commercials? They're very infrequent. Fitness. Maybe a lot of you are burned out in the gym. You've tried that before. And if you're not getting results after you've worked your ass off, I'd be really frustrated as well. And I'm sure a lot of you have been told, yo, you just need to do this or make this little change. Maybe you do recommit to that and you still don't get answers. They can teach you how to work out and how to change your body, but fitness isn't important just for how we look. It's important for our hormones. It's important for how we sleep. It's important for our appetite. So it's incredibly important for our body. We need to look at hormones. Hormones are our whole chemical signaler of life. They control every function within our body. And that may seem like a big stretch, but I promise you as we go through this tonight, you'll exactly understand why that is. We have to talk about mentoring. And mentoring is coaching. Mentoring is having someone guide you through a process who's been there before, who's had success, so that you can avoid pitfalls. Because I'm assuming if you're on this call tonight and you're willing to spend an hour of your time on a Tuesday night with myself in my office, which we more than commend you for, because you've taken the first step to doing something different, you don't want to have another pitfall. So having a mentor and a coach is incredibly important. Now, I see some more people just join the webinar, and I just want to get everyone caught up so you can still get the absolute most out of this. Because what we're going through right now is America's healthcare crisis, which we've touched on a little bit. We shared some of the statistics of where we're at. We're going to be going over the underlying cause that no one else is talking about so that you can truly know what's going on and how you can make a change in your life. I'm also going to talk about how you can take action and how you can protect your health naturally. Because right now, this is kind of where we're at in America, our health habits. The first thought, typically, if you have something going on with you, is what medical condition do I have? The second thought is what drugs do I need? And I kind of wrote this two ways because partially that first thought from the healthcare system is what medical condition do they have and what drug can I give them? Because pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars a year to make us think this way. And it kind of reminds me of, I just saw a commercial recently for acid reflux, and you could really sub in a lot of different pharmaceutical ads or commercials for this. But essentially, they're running through how this is going to change your life and you won't have acid reflux anymore. You can enjoy your family. And this person's running through the fields and it's the greatest thing ever. And of course, at that point, they're running through all of the basically bad things that can happen and going through all those side effects. One of the side effects is sudden death. So I personally would rather share with everyone ways that we can change our life without putting something in our body that has the potential to kill us instantly. Because thyroid, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, hormone imbalances, those all equal prescriptions for life to pharmaceutical companies. And if from a young age you have something and they can continue to add medications as you age through life and add more and more, that's a very lucrative business model for them. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of money to be made in cures. I think there's a lot of fame, but there is not money to be had because pharmaceutical companies would rather keep you on a suppressive type of therapy or a prescription for the duration of your life. That's going to make them and net them a lot more money. We're not here just to talk about that. But I think that you all understand the system that we're in is not ideal. And if you're ready to make a change, we want to look at this in a different manner. So when we look at this check engine light, how often, think of your car. If this was your car, we had a check engine, and you took it into the mechanic, he went in the back, and he just hooked up the computer and was able to turn off this light. All set, lights off. We all would feel a little uneasy because you know that your car or truck, whatever vehicle, was not operating correctly and that light came on. Are you happy now that just the light's off? Because ultimately, that's a lot of what the medications are like. And if I don't fix that underlying cause, then what happens? Now I have more lights come on. And what happens next in the system, right? For a while, that prescription makes you a little better, but now you have another symptom, and then we have to add another medication. And I don't want to do that. And like I said, Fixed Body Group refuses to be a part of that system, so we want to show every single one of you how we can do this in a much better way. So I said that the system right now that we're talking about is dictated by Medicare. So let me share with you Medicare's stance on health. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary. So that's kind of med legal jargon, but if we were to break that down, so if you want to get a procedure that will help prevent a disease, we're not going to pay for that. If you would like to do something to promote your health, we are not going to pay for that. If you would like to do something to enhance the quality of your life, we will also not pay for that because that's not medically necessary. I was under the impression that being alive was medically necessary, and I want to be on this earth as long as I humanly is possible, and hopefully stretch the idea of what is possible. You might look at that and say, that's really sad from Medicare. I'm happy I don't have Medicare. Well, I'm going to share something with you that Medicare dictates there's the base for every insurance company. So what Medicare says goes. That is exactly, I don't care who you have for insurance, but they follow that same exact model. So do not be fooled. So are you willing to do something different? Or are you seeing that that system is not going to get you to where we want to be? And that's just not right. So we have to be willing to do something different. And we have to be willing to make a change. But the great thing is I know that every single one of you realizes that the system isn't really going to get you to where you want to be. But now that we realize that system isn't correct, it's up to us individually to make the change. If we stick within that same broken model and broken system, we can't expect anything different. You're just going to be more angry about it going through. And the reason I say I know every single one of you knows this is in the chat box, look at this rose. What is the first thing you would do to that rose to make it better? So in the chat box, put what you would do to make that rose better. Okay. So when we look at it, like Chris said, water it. It's a very, seems like obvious answer. We want to water it. Not one person is going to look at that and say, oh, what medication does that need? We start with the water, right? We have to make sure we're putting in what our body is mostly made of. We need the water. What else do we need? We have to make sure it has the right sunlight. So for us as humans, are we actually getting out and being active? It has to have the right soil. Is it getting the nutrients that it needs? So just like a human, am I putting in the right things into my body so that it can actually build? Climate, am I in the right climate? Is it too hot or too cold? Just like our body, I can't be in extreme heat all the time or be in extreme cold all the time. We have to hit that homeostasis, that middle point. And then nutrition. Are we giving it the right nutrition so that it can build itself? And I know that every single person in the chat box knows these answers. So let's go into how we can make these type of changes in our life. Because I believe that every single one of us has a purpose. Every single person has a different purpose. But I know, and I can say this with confidence, that being alive is definitely part of it. Because we have to be here before we do anything else. So if your purpose is being that super mom or that super dad, or you want to spend time with your kids, if it's just being able to interact with your kids, because when you get home from work, you're so exhausted, that's your purpose. And that isn't how things should be. So I want to make sure there's nothing on your bucket list that stays in the bucket. We want to get those things out and give you a body and a life where you can experience every single one of them. Because maybe you have some of these symptoms. Maybe you're feeling some depression, especially with everything going on right now. People mentally are not in the same headspace as they used to be. Maybe you're feeling anxiety. These things are not normal. To feel anxious all the time or to feel depressed, that is not normal. These are our body sending us these check engine signals that we need to make changes to before it keeps becoming other lights and you have to get a whole new engine. We don't want to do that. Maybe you have bowel difficulty and you think that this is just because of age. It's not. These are not normal things. Our body is trying to tell us something, and it's trying to alert us to making a change before something gets worse. Maybe you're having trouble with sleep, having insomnia, or you're waking up a lot in the night. That is also not normal. And that's our body telling us that something is not normal. Maybe you've had some weight gain. That's not normal, especially during COVID, or people say, I just gained a few pounds. Well, when we gain some weight, that's our body not metabolizing food correctly. It's storing fat and not burning it, and that's not correct. Maybe you're feeling mood swings and you're feeling really irritable and you're not feeling like yourself. Maybe someone even told you that, like, hey, you're not really acting like yourself. Because we need to know what's going on. We can't just blanket give you something without knowing all the other factors. I used the example earlier about the acid reflux. Every single person, yeah, you may have one common thread that you have acid reflux, but how many other things do we not know about? And you're going to put a medication into your body. So we need to know what's actually going on. Because when we test, then we can make the actual treatment plan that's going to work for that person, whether it's hypothyroidism, you have toxicities, you have a gastrointestinal disorder, you have a nervous system interference, we have adrenal stress, you have a hormonal imbalance. Whatever it is, you have to test so we can find out exactly what the underlying cause is, so we can formulate a custom plan for you to make those changes. So one of the symptoms that I mentioned was stress. And I want to talk about a couple different types of stress right now. The first one on that left-hand side, that's physical. So from old injuries, from current injuries, from maybe you have a car accident, those physical stresses, although they're physical, like on our body, they change the way our body functions. And that can change the way that we sleep, the way that we recreate, what we're able to eat or not eat. So these physical stresses are really important to deal with. And if you have an injury from a long time ago, just because the pain's gone doesn't mean that the function has been restored. And then in the middle, we have chemical. A lot of sugar in that second panel. And then we see outside environmental chemicals that we're exposed to, right? Like Roundup in our crops, or maybe DEET if you live somewhere it's really buggy and you're using a lot of bug spray. We're a big factory, what that's putting out into the air that we're taking in all the time, but as well as what we actually eat. And why is this bad? It creates inflammation, it creates a lot of disruption to how the chemicals interact in our body. And then we have emotional. So emotional is what we're dealing with on our day-to-day basis and how we mitigate the stresses of life. But if this part's not okay, nothing else is going to be. Our brain is our supercomputer that's really giving the instructions to the rest of our body. And that emotional component has to be in check. So I want you to put in the chat box if you've experienced, number one, any of those symptoms where you're dealing with one of those three types of stress, or all of them. So you get a sense of where everyone is at. Because if you're ready to do what it takes, I'm going to go through each of these things. And it comes down to first being proactive. We have to agree that we're not where we want to be, and we need to make some changes to get there. Because like Einstein said, doing the same thing and expecting a different result is a definition of insanity. We have to get the right information. So we have to test and not guess. We have to know exactly what you're dealing with. We have to eliminate risk factors. We have to educate you on things that you can do to not feel pain or not make your body or your health worse. We have to find the underlying cause through getting a full history from you and understanding everything that you've been through, but also through testing. Then we have to learn how to build our immune system, minimize the stresses that we just talked about, because I see pretty much everyone's experienced at least one, but mostly all. We have to take action because knowledge is power, but unless it's applied, it's simply knowledge. And a lot of great ideas are 6 feet underground. So we have to address these 5 different things, which is detox, nutrition, fitness, hormones, mentoring. If we can put all of those together, we can make a change in our life. So I want to talk about each one of them. So for detox is really interesting because like I said in the beginning, it's not about putting a hose up your backside. It's not about doing a 16-day juice cleanse, but it's about systematically removing items from our diet and chemically, emotionally that create internal stresses, because 80% of our immune system lives in our gut. And in our gut is actually where most of the hormones are produced and released. So when we get to this hormone part later, remember, these are intricately tied together. All 5 of these really are, but you'll see that picture on the bottom. It's like the needle and the pills. That's something else. And when we take some of the antibiotics and some of the things that were prescribed, one shot can change your gut culture for 14 years. So imagine what some of these pills and some of the injections that people are taking every single time they go to the doctor, what's that doing to your gut flora? So we need to restore that so our body can actually take in the nutrients. Not only can we restore immune function and make sure our hormones are working correctly, but when we put food in our body, we need to make sure it can actually absorb and take out, the nutrients. So nutrition is the next thing. I just said you have to make sure that your body can use the food. We want to make sure that we're putting in the right food. So I want to read this little quote. The purpose of food, that which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, promote growth and repair of our tissues. So you have to, does a donut, does that give me energy? Yeah, it does give me energy for a little bit of time. But does that help me sustain life by growing and repairing my tissues? Imagine that donut as like a shipment of equipment. It is hardly anything, and it's very poor equipment versus maybe some of those foods on the left that are nutrient dense and they're nutrient heavy. Those have equipment that my body can use to build and repair my tissues. Because every single day of our life, you are breaking down tissues and you're constantly remolding and rebuilding. So we want to make sure that, number one, you don't break down as much as you may without doing anything different. And number two, that you rebuild in the way that we want to be. You need to look at fitness. I put this picture up here with a wrong or lacking information because maybe you've been sold on or you've seen something very similar to a piece of equipment like this before on late night TV. And they are showing you this amazing model who's in great shape. They come out and they use the exercise equipment, and it leaves you thinking that if I do that same thing, I'll get the same results. I think every single one of you know from what we've gone through so far that no 2 people are going to get the same exact results because every single one of us is a different individual. And we need to make sure that you are exercising, working out in a way that's going to stimulate your body to make change. And I said in the very beginning, you've probably been burnt out if you've never seen results. But we can teach you how to exercise and work out in a way that only takes 20 to 30 minutes, and we can get even better benefits than you've ever had before. So you just need to know the right information. You have to know the right information for you. We're going to talk about hormones. I said that they are here. Not that they're here. Hormones are the master signaler, really, of life within our body because they control how we build muscle, how we burn fat, how we sleep, how we wake up, how much energy we have. They're incredibly important. So I separated this slide into left and right. Go ahead in the chat box and tell me if you want fat storing hormones or fat burning hormones. So let me know in the chat box which one. I see Anna was asking in the chat box. A lot of you asked in the beginning about hormones, and we're going to get into this part a little bit more right now. I do want to see some of the answers from the fat burning or fat storing. Like I said, we have a little bit of a lag. All right, Chris said both. Burning, totally. Fat burning, fat burning. All right, a lot of fat burning. Fat burning, please. Awesome. So a lot of fat burning. Well, I don't want to burst your bubbles, but we need to have both. Our body is intricately designed, and there's a lot of balance that occurs. If we don't have any, looking at the fat storing, if you have no insulin, we're going to be diabetic. If you have no estrogen, then we are going to go into menopause early for women. If you don't have cortisol, we are going to be very inflamed. You're not going to be able to sleep well. This is not where we want to be. Of course, the ones on the right, I would say left, you've probably heard about cortisol and how it gets a really bad rap. And insulin, if you're diabetic, you know all about that one. But on the right, these all sound great. Growth hormone, adrenaline, testosterone. These are important too, but we have to have them in the right balance. I think almost everyone has heard, testosterone, if that's too high, it can really emotionally change us, right? Every single one of these can have a drastic impact on how you feel and your mood. So in this next slide, maybe you identify with one of these body types, or maybe you've seen these before, because these types are strictly created by hormonal imbalances and issues with these hormones. So on the left-hand side, when we have issues with estrogen, you'll see a lot of fat accumulation through the midsection and through the upper thighs. With adrenal, those adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. I know I always try to make a little triangle with my fingers and it never works. But when we have an issue with that, it's going to get more fat accumulation through the waist, but also into the glutes and around the backside as well. That thyroid issue, we're going to see the weight more evenly distributed throughout the body. And then liver, we almost get what a lot of people would call like a beer gut, right? And typically, if someone is really heavy drinking and that liver is starting to not function correctly, and it really creates a lot of issues with how those hormones are released, and that liver starts to get swollen and retain a lot of fluid, it pushes the gut out. We don't want to have any of these. And every single one of these is changeable if we can identify what the true underlying problem and cause is. When we talk about this next thing I'm going to go into, which is mentoring, it reminds me of Chris. Number one, Chris was having a lot of different issues. If you look at the symptoms, it's fever, chills, fatigue, dehydration. He had inflammation in his eyes, joint swelling, canker scores. And worst of all, he had no appetite. If you look at Chris, he looks terrible on this left-hand picture. But you can tell he's a skinnier person. He was what a lot of people would consider in good health. But look at all those symptoms. Is that healthy? Just because he had a slim frame? No, that's not. That's not right. And Chris was trying desperately to do every single thing that he had been told. But Chris did not have someone guiding him through. And he was just pulling pieces that he was being told to do. Well, Chris joined our team about a year ago, and instantly we were not okay with Chris living life the way that he was. And Chris went through our program, and he is a whole different person now. You can see that picture at the bottom with him in the middle. He's living a great life. He has not been to the VA in over a year, where he was going almost monthly. So by getting the correct information and by putting the pieces together, we were able to make a change in Chris's life. So you need to have a mentor. We have mentors in every single aspect of life, in business, in sports. Every great athlete has a coach. Every great team has a great coach. And you need to have a mentor and a coach if you want to make a change in your life as well. That picture on the left-hand side, that is me. That is not a man that I found at the top of a memorial, and I'm drastically gripping his leg. That is my father. And my father is my first mentor and my favorite. But I bring this up because my father and I didn't always see eye to eye. But my dad worked incredibly hard to help me avoid pitfalls and educated me aggressively about how I can avoid those type of things in life. And that's exactly what a mentor does. They're not here to sugarcoat things, but they're here to help and guide you so that you can get to better places and different places and hopefully further through life than they've been. Because I said in that purpose part, I don't know exactly what your purpose is, but I'm guessing a lot of you on here have children and you have kids that you want to be around for, that you want to support, that you want to see have grandkids, and that you just don't want to be alive, but you want to be interacting. You want to be able to share life with them. Because this next photo is my grandfather. And I wish I was who I am now when he was alive so that we could make a change in his life. But my grandfather died of congestive heart failure, and he was a chronic smoker, but he was an incredible human. And every single one of us is going to leave a legacy. And outside of some of the health, my grandfather left an incredible legacy. And I want to make sure that every single one of you can do that. It's like Susan said, she wants to be there for her 8 grandkids. We have a lot of you that want to experience and share life with the other people that are there in your life, because we get to write our eulogy every single day. We want to make sure that you'd be proud to be there, because you want to be able to surprise your son on the 4th of July with lobster that you brought as a carry-on from Maine, so you can hang out with him and his best friend, who I've known for 30 years. So that's like my other brother. So I want to make sure that you can function and live life the way that you want. So we've gone through what's probably got you to where you're at, and some of the misinformation that's out there, and how the system is trying to help us. I hope that we've unearthed a better way to do this. So how do we make changes? We have to put these pieces together, because what I've gone through so far tonight is a blueprint. We talked about nutrition, detox, fitness, hormones, and mentoring. That is a blueprint. We need to have those pieces, but what each one of those pieces looks like is completely individualized to you. Because we have to treat the whole person by putting every single one of these together. And the other part, with a coach and a mentor, you have to be involved, right? Because you can't coach someone who's not involved. Because tell me, and I may forget, teach me and I remember, and involve me and I learn. Because in our program, as I said in the very beginning, the purpose of this is to empower you and make you aware of all the changes that can be made and how you can be in control of those. Because I want to get to meet and talk with every single one of you so you can help make that change. But I want to help as many people as we possibly can. And I'm doing you a disservice if I do not empower you to make those decisions for yourself for the rest of your life, so that you can be a great influence on those around you, and you can show them how to live a better life as well. But you have to be involved, and you have to be willing to take this journey just as much as I am, because I'm 100% committed to you if you're going to commit to making that change. Because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Right now, every single one of you has already taken one step. You're here tonight. You spent an hour with me, somewhere around there, getting to learn about A, what's got you to where you are right now, and B, what you can do to change it. But I want to explain a little bit more about what we can do to change it, so there are no questions and there's no stone unturned of what you need to do. Because can we change the future of your health? I think yes, because we can order the correct tests, we can determine that true underlying cause, we can focus on the cause and not your symptoms, not your medications that are just masking symptoms. We can correct the dysfunction and not just look to alter some of these lab values. We can address you as a whole person and take a real systemic approach and mentor you through every single step of the process, so you don't fall off that path. You don't maybe fall off like you've done times in the past when you try to do this on your own. We want to make this easy for you. We're going to make this doable and something that you'll look back and say, I'm so happy that I made that change, because I'm forever different. So the next step, if we're going to put down the second foot, is booking a discovery call with me. I see in the chat box, a couple of people have already done that. I'm going to be speaking with Anna, and I look forward to hopefully getting to know every single one of you. But I want to let you know what happens on this discovery call. So in a call, you and I will be speaking one-to-one for about 15 to 30 minutes. What the call does is it allows myself and our office to determine if we're the right fit, because I will 100% commit to you, but I will never lie to you. If I don't think that we're the right fit, or this isn't going to help you with what you have going on, I'm going to tell you that too. And then I'm going to do every single thing I can to get you to the right person. So when we get on that call, number one, determine, are we the right fit? Number two, I'll help you understand a little bit more about how we work together and how our program works. And then number three, I'll come out of this knowing what you want to get out of this, so that I can go back with my team, we can work together, and I can make the custom plan for you so we can get to that point. So if you would like to book that call now, we use a website called calendly.com that allows you to look at my available times to book a call with myself. Christopher is going to go ahead and put the link into the chat box, so you'll be able to click that. If for whatever reason on your computer it's not clickable, you can just copy and paste the link directly into a browser, and that'll open up. That'll show you some available times that I have to book a call. But I want to let you know, if our schedules are always conflicting, don't let that stop you. Please reach out to us. There's a phone number right there, 619-295-9791, and we'll work to find a time where we can connect. I also have both Jessica and Chris are on the phones right now. We have staff ready to sign people up. So if you'd rather just call us directly and book a time for us to talk, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Because the next step after we book that call is, after we book that and I get to know you, we then do what's called a complete wellness evaluation if you're a right fit for our office. So in that complete wellness evaluation, we'll actually sit down either virtually or in person, and we'll spend an hour together so I can fully understand what's going on. And then we can create that plan for you so we can get to that destination. We can fulfill that purpose for you. So I want to thank every single one of you for taking really the first step in learning about a different way and how we can avoid maybe some of those frustrations that you have right now. Because I'm here to say that is not your fault. You've been doing exactly what you've been told. I understand that a lot of people blocked off maybe an hour to spend with me. We're coming up to that time right now. The presentation component is done. I am going to hang out for a little while and answer any questions that may come up. I want to go over two really common ones. Number one is can this be done virtually? And yes, we work with people all across the country with these programs that can be done completely virtual. And number two is, do we take insurance? We do not accept insurance for the program. As you saw, insurance doesn't pay for a lot of things to prevent healthcare, and actually none of the services that we perform are covered. However, during the testing component, if we do need to get some specialized tests that are covered by your insurance, of course, we're going to use the insurance. But we do offer a lot of different options. We've never had someone where the finance was truly the obstacle. So we are here to help every single person make that change in your life. If you have any other questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. I'm going to hang out for a little while and make sure we get every single one of those answered. And again, thank you all for attending. I hope that you have an amazing Tuesday night, and I'll be talking to each one of you shortly. I'm going to put my email in the chat box as well. So if any of you have some specific questions, maybe they're a little wordier, or you want to share some documentation that you have, I'd be happy to go over that with you. All right, so Cassandra, I did see your question. That one's private. I'll respond to it in just a second. Sue asked, recently had labs drawn. Will I need to do them again? If you have recent labs or blood work, you can just bring that in. I'm not saying that we would never retest, but if it's pretty recent, bring in that information. I do ask patients to please bring any current information that they have so we can just see what's going on and make sure that we make the absolute best plan for you. All right. Anna asked, do you think you help someone with anxiety, anger issues that seem hormonal? Yes, totally. A lot of times, especially with anger and anxiety, it's pushed on to other topics, I shouldn't say topics, but other reasons of what might be the true cause, where oftentimes we do find that once we calm down those hormonal imbalances, a lot of that regulates and normalizes. And one great thing too is what we've seen when people that go through the program is just by dealing with nutrition, by going through the detox portion, and also by dealing with the fitness component, a lot of the hormones regulate themselves because we're getting the right amount of sleep, we're getting the right water, we're getting correct nutrition, we're not creating internal inflammation all the time. So we see a lot of symptoms fade away, but we oftentimes don't have to make a lot of crazy intervention with hormones. Anna asked, sorry, that was private. Okay. Let me get back to a couple of these. Okay. Anna asks, how do you look at age? I'm assuming you mean like how do I view age in terms of as we age, that is probably the one thing hormonally we do have some changes. Our max heart rate goes down as we age. However, I would say, well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess when we're younger, how it affects us can be a lot different versus older. But to answer that truthfully, we test for every single person to determine what we need to do and how we need to factor that in. Obviously, someone in like teenage years, there's a lot more hormonal change going through that time. And then as we get older, now usually our hormones are a culmination of medications that we've taken, exercises, all those things. So we may need to do some kind of removal. But hopefully that answered that in some sense. Ultimately, we need to test to see where we're at. Sarah says she needs to take action and start working on having some hot flashes. Sarah, I would be more than happy to help you. I'd like to know more about what's going on. And if you want to set up that call, it's at the very top. You can click where it says sign up for our complimentary one-to-one discovery call. We can find a time, or you can go ahead and give the office a call. I'll go back on that slide, and Jessica would be happy to get you all set up so you can find out what's going on. And Anna, let me reply to you on the private one. Anna, that the second text was also to you. I see only one of them went through private. I will share this though. Anna had asked about bringing her husband or a loved one. Typically in our programs, I will do the first call with whoever I'm working with. And when we move forward, I always ask that you bring a loved one, spouse, whoever's supporting you at your house to that next meeting, because I want to make sure, and we want to make sure that you have support at home. So when you're going through the system, number one, I want them to hear it from the horse's mouth. So if someone at home is questioning why you're doing certain things, they can be in here and ask me those questions, because it is not your job to have to relay every single bit of information that we do. Over time, you will be educated on that, and you will be empowered and be able to educate people. But you can't on day one of class be expected to teach someone else everything else. So we want to make sure that you have support, and also that you're not re-explaining what you're doing. You just have to focus on what we are doing so we can make those changes. And on that second visit, I always like to have that person there so that we can hear from maybe their perspective too, how this is showing up in your life, because you're, that's just your perception of it, and we want to get theirs as well. Cassandra asked me a question. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase, but basically this was something we went over a little bit in the hormones, but just because you may have gone somewhere and lab testing said everything was normal, but I'll use the example of like testosterone, for example, is a range of 200 to 800. But in functional medicine, we look at about 650 to 800. That's a 400-point flip. Because when we look at any test, these are based on a bell curve, which means 90% of people need to fit inside the curve. So just like when we talked about the medications, it doesn't make sense that we would, like I said, I take 0, but the average is 4. So when we look at that curve, those lab results, just because you're within range, doesn't mean we can't use them to predict something getting worse. So I would love to see exactly what the lab results were so we can make the best response to that, I should say. Sorry, I'm trying to triple task. All right. Well, if anyone has any other questions, if there's anything else that comes up, feel free to reach out to me. I put the email in there. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat box again, but feel free to send me an email directly, and we can go over what's going on with you and make the best plan of action. But thank you again, all of you, for joining me tonight, for joining myself, my office, and for making that first step. And I'm really happy that we can set up with a lot of you. I'm so excited to see so many people sign up to take the next step. But when we do this, it's really to try to change your life. So I want to thank so many of you for joining us tonight, because you're unhappy of where you are and you're ready to make that change. So thank you for spending time with us, and I can't wait to talk to every single one of you soon.